Welcome to our channel. Before we begin, take a deep breath and allow yourself to be fully present in this moment. Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that something has shifted inside you. Perhaps it's a sense of longing, a feeling that life has more to offer, or maybe it's the realization that time moves forward whether we embrace it or not. But today, you have a choice to see life differently, to feel the possibilities before you, to embrace change rather than fear it. If you care about your family, your children, and those closest to you, be sure to subscribe to our channel. By doing so, you not only support content that inspires, but also invite luck and well-being into your life and the lives of those you love. Now, let's begin. Have you ever felt like life was passing you by? Like the days blend into one another, and the excitement, the purpose, the meaning has slowly faded? Many people, upon reaching a certain age, begin to feel invisible, as if their presence no longer matters in the grand scheme of things. It's a painful thought, but one that many share. Today, I want to tell you a story that may change how you see your own life, a story of rediscovery, of purpose, of finding joy in the simplest moments. There was a man named Elias who lived in a small town surrounded by rolling hills and quiet fields. For most of his life, he had been a hard worker, a dedicated father, and a man of principle. But as the years passed and his children moved away to build their own lives, a loneliness began to settle into his heart. His days became routine. Wake up, prepare breakfast, tend to the garden, and watch the sunset from his porch. Although peaceful, something inside him felt empty. He often asked himself, "Is this all that remains for me?" One afternoon, as he sat beneath an old oak tree near his home, he noticed a woman sitting not too far away. She was older, yet there was something radiant about her presence. She was watching the birds, a soft smile on her face, as if she carried a secret to happiness that no one else knew. Curious, Elias walked over and greeted her. She introduced herself as Amelia, a traveler who had spent much of her life learning from different cultures, seeking the wisdom that life had to offer. Seeing the sadness in Elias's eyes, she asked, "Tell me, do you believe that happiness is something we find or something we create?" Elias thought for a moment and finally said, "I don't know anymore." Amelia smiled gently. "Then let me show you something." She reached into her small bag and pulled out a candle and a glass jar filled with water. She placed them in front of her, lit the candle, and poured the water into a small bowl. "Every night before bed, I sit with these," she said. "I watch the flame and say to myself, 'Let go of the burdens of today. Only peace remains.' Then I take 3 sips of water and say, 'With each sip, I invite strength, gratitude, and renewal.'" Elias watched as she performed this simple ritual. He felt something shift within him, a curiosity, a longing to try it himself. That evening, back at his home, he found a candle and a small bowl of water. He sat in silence, just as Amelia had, watching the flame dance. As he whispered the words, he felt a calmness settle over him. It was as if, for the first time in years, he had given himself permission to simply be. The next morning, something strange happened. Elias woke up feeling lighter. The air felt fresher, the sun warmer. He took a walk through his garden, noticing the way the dew clung to the petals, how the wind carried the scent of blooming flowers. A few days later, he saw Amelia again. She greeted him with a knowing smile. "You've felt the change, haven't you?" she asked. He nodded. "But why? It's such a small thing." She chuckled, "Because the smallest things are often the most powerful, but there's more you can do." She explained that each night before bed, she also practiced gratitude. Before you sleep, think of 3 things that brought you joy, even if they seem insignificant. A kind word, the sound of birds, the taste of a good meal. Gratitude reshapes the mind. It teaches you to see abundance rather than lack. Elias decided to try it. That night, he struggled at first. His mind kept drifting to regrets, worries about the past. But then he remembered the warm sun on his face that morning, the laughter of children playing in the distance, and the way the candlelight had made his home feel cozier. He fell asleep with these thoughts, and when he woke up, he felt different. With each passing day, Elias noticed small shifts. He smiled more. He felt less burdened by the past. He began taking walks beyond his garden, greeting neighbors he had once only nodded to. One morning, as he stood by the oak tree, he saw a young man sitting alone, his face heavy with worry. Remembering how Amelia had helped him, Elias sat beside him and asked, "What's on your mind?" The young man hesitated before admitting that he felt lost. "I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I feel like I'm constantly failing." Elias listened, then smiled. "Start with gratitude," he said. "Each night think of something, anything, that brought you joy. Even the smallest thing can change your perspective." The young man looked skeptical, but agreed to try. Days passed, and when Elias saw him again, the young man's face had changed. There was a lightness in his eyes. "I started a gratitude journal," he admitted. "It was hard at first, but now I see things differently. Thank you." Elias felt something deep within him stir. Purpose. He realized that by changing his own outlook, he had also changed the energy he carried, and that energy had begun to touch the lives of those around him. Word spread in the village about the simple yet powerful practices Elias had adopted. Soon, neighbors began gathering in the evenings to talk, to share their own moments of gratitude, to find comfort in each other's stories. The village, once quiet and routine, began to thrive with a new sense of community. One day, Amelia approached Elias once more. "You've come far," she said, "but remember, transformation is an ongoing journey. There is one more thing." She taught him the power of words, how speaking kindness into the mirror each morning could rewire self-perception. Look at yourself each day and say, "I am worthy, I am strong, I am enough." At first, Elias felt silly, but he did it anyway. And just as with the candle ritual, just as with gratitude, something began to change. Months passed, and Elias realized something remarkable. He no longer felt invisible. He no longer felt like life was passing him by. He had become a source of wisdom, of kindness, of quiet strength for those around him. And now I ask you, dear listener, what is your first step? Perhaps it's lighting a candle and letting go of the burdens of the day. Perhaps it's whispering words of gratitude before bed. Or maybe it's something even simpler, just looking in the mirror and saying, "I am enough," because you are. The power to change your reality is in your hands. Thank you for watching.